Our job here is to discover the lies that we've been told, to uncover the lies. It is not our job to find the truth. Hello, you little wonderful soldiers and soldierettes. How are you doing? Marching forward in this movement toward the truth. Today I'm going to talk about my thoughts and the emissary's thoughts on the fact that the earth might not be like that and it might be like that. Just want to share something really interesting that the emissaries told me. And I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So whilst I was out talking with the emissaries, I was out running, and I said to them, because we just recently posted the interview with David Weiss, okay? Man, boy oh boy, I didn't realise just how polemic that subject is. In my book, and this is, I've noticed a few people saying this, and this is what I think, that subject is far too polemic for it to be natural and organic. There's something very weird about the way that that subject is attacked. I don't like it. I don't like anything being attacked. Remember, the system that I've always used is if the powers that be like somebody, that probably means that they're not very nice. And if they hate somebody, that probably means that they are nice. And I would use the same criteria to talk about if something is being attacked virulently from all angles, and hundreds of bots and thousands of bots are out there writing horrible stuff. Something is wrong. It's a red flag. This isn't normal. I can talk about Tartaria. I can talk about the medical world. I can talk about education. I can talk about politics. And all the comments, everyone's going, yeah, well, maybe I see it in a slightly different way, blah, blah, blah. And then we talk about that. And suddenly all the comments, you wouldn't believe the amount of comments in BitChute. I rarely get comments in BitChute. Most of them are nice, the comments I get, and sometimes they're really horrible. But this time, that video has got hundreds of comments. What is that about? And you wouldn't want to read the comments. Horrific. What is that about? Something smells terribly fishy about that. Anyway, I'll leave that for you to think about as well. I'm just extremely suspicious about the attention, the negative attention that gets and why. So, I was talking to the emissaries about this and I said, hey, what's your take on the globe? I've asked them this before, and what they said the last time was, I said, is the earth like that or is it like that? And they said, yes. Okay, that was the answer, yes. But I thought, well, what I'll do is I'm going to dig in with them. And I said, so talk to me about this. And they said, the first thing that you need to understand about this subject is that when you come to talk about what this realm is, it would be like describing a blade of grass using a knife and fork as examples. That's exactly the analogy that they give me. They said, when you try and explain what this realm is, you don't have the tools, you don't have the information. And they said, as long as everybody is in this realm, as long as you're in this realm, you will never, ever know what this realm is. That's what they said. They were very adamant about it. You'll never know, and you'll never be able to arrive at a conclusion about what this realm is. And they said, whilst you're in this realm, you can never know what this realm is, because if you did, it would give the game away. Another expression they used, and it was almost like in inverted commas, to give the, literally, life is a game. This is a game, and if we knew it was a game and how it was made, it would give the game away. That's what they're saying. So we don't have the right to know it, we don't have the capacity to know it, and we'll never know it whilst we're here. Maybe when we're elsewhere, maybe we will, I don't know. But then they added this and they said, what's more important than knowing what this is knowing what it's not. And they said, That's why it's very important to identify the lies that we've been told. And the word slop, because I know it's used a lot, like fed slop, but the slop that we've been given, the lies that we've been told. And they said, absolutely, we commend you to look at everything and look to be sure that what you're being told can be verified. And if it can't, then you investigate it further. And they said it's important to identify the lies that we've been given for our own safety, for the safety of our own thinking, I suppose. But then they said this, just because we find out that something isn't this, so the earth, imagine, we find out, we look at it, we study it, and we find out the earth isn't a globe, it can't be. They said, don't assume that because it's not this, it must be that. One of the conclusions that I arrived at after spending a lot of time looking at the whole globe earth lie, I would call it, basically, that's my belief anyway, is that I said, I know that it's not round. Beyond that, I don't know what it is. I just know it's not round. And I think that's as far as we can go. Just as the emissaries were saying, if we start going down the road of false equivalence, like, oh, it's not this, so therefore it must be that. That's what it is. And they're saying, no, don't ever make the assumption that just because you've proved that something isn't, that means that it is something else. We don't know what it is. But they repeated that our job is to examine everything. And they were saying, like somebody who buys gold, and to buy gold, they're scratching it and they're polishing it and they're looking at it and they're looking at it under a magnifying glass or a microscope. That's what we've got to do. We are living in a world of lies. Everything that is given to us by the powers that shouldn't be is potentially a lie. The gut feel that I have is it's all a lie. And so our job is to discover the lies. But the emissaries then went on to say this, and I thought it was really, really profound. They said, our job here is to discover the lies that we've been told, to uncover the lies. It is not our job to find the truth. And I know we've talked about our inability to understand the truth, but that's what they said. It's not our job to find the truth, but it's our job to search for it. And it's the expression, surround yourself with people who are searching for the truth and flee, run like fuck from those who say they've found it. And that reminds me of a story I'll leave you with. The story is this: the devil is walking along with one of his demons along, and up ahead is a man walking along. And the man, as he walks, stops, looks at something on the ground, bends down, picks it up, and puts it in his pocket. And the demon says to the devil, what did that man just find on the road? And the devil said, oh, he found a piece of truth. And the demon said, does that not worry you? And the devil said, not at all. He'll put it in his pocket and he'll turn it into a dogma. The beautiful thing about searching for truth is that when you search for truth, every one of your senses is open and accepting and taking in new information. In the moment that you say, I have found the truth, everything closes. And that's when you make a dogma. That's when you start imposing this on other people. And so what we've got to do is go through our life searching for the truth, and knowing that we'll never find it. Isn't that bizarre? It's an oxymoron. I'm looking for the truth, but I know I'm not going to find it. But that's the fun of this life. That's why we're here. We're here to uncover the lies, the dirty, stinking, monkey, dirty bastards, and all the lies that they've told us. And that will help us to use our moral compass to head toward the truth. And maybe, I don't know, when do you think? I don't know. Put in the comments, because I'd like to know your opinion. At what point do we access the truth? And when I say the truth, I don't even know what that means. How big is that? The truth about the earth, the truth about our existence, the truth about God? I don't know. Is it only when we actually return back to source that we have full cognizance, we understand fully? I don't know. When do you think, for example, what truths do you think that we access when we get to the other side? I'd be interested to know your opinion. And also, I'd like to know your opinion why it is that the earth being flat is attacked so much. I love you all, and I'll speak to you all later. Bye-bye.